Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're looking to get up to speed fast on how a whole continent might switch to 100% clean energy and maybe even supply power to the world, you're definitely in the right place today. The piece of research we're digging into is quite something. It's titled Exporting Sunshine, Planning South America's Electricity Transition with Green Hydrogen.
Yeah, and that title really sets the stage because, when you look at studies on 100% renewables, it's mostly Europe, North America,
Right.
South America.
Yeah.
Not so much focus,
Mm.
strangely enough,
Yeah.
despite, absolutely huge renewable potential, growing economies, and they already have a lot of hydropower.
So there was a gap in the research.
A big one. A lack of really comprehensive, joined-up thinking for the whole region.
And that's exactly what the study tackled head on. Their goal wasn't just one country, was it? It was the entire South American power grid, transitioning completely to renewables by 2050.
It's a massive scope. And the way they did it, the modeling, that's what gives the findings so much weight.
What makes the model so special?
Well, it's apparently the highest resolution model built for the continent so far. They use this cost optimization tool, LELO it's called, Low Emission Electric Power System Optimization.
Okay.
Basically, it figures out the cheapest way to build and run the grid. And the detail is incredible. Every hour of every year until 2050.
Every single hour.
Yep, 1,800 and 760 time steps a year across more than 40 different places looking at 30 different technologies. It really is, like they say, the to-date most complete model for planning South America's power sector.
That level of detail is, well, it's impressive, not just the sketch, more like a blueprint. So let's cut to the chase. According to this blueprint, can they actually do it? A full 100% renewable transition? Is it technically possible? And maybe the bigger question, is it affordable?
Yes, and yes.
Yeah.
A really strong yes on both. And what's really striking is the cost part.
Oh, what?
The transition isn't just possible. The model shows it's actually the most cost-efficient path forward. They project electricity costs stabilizing around, get this, 32 euros per megawatt hour from 2035 onwards.
32 euros per megawatt hour? Wow. How does that stack up? Is that cheap?
It's incredibly competitive. Prices vary wildly now across South America, lots of different factors. But 32 euros, that's competitive globally for new power. And crucially, it's stable.
Stable how?
Stable because it doesn't rely on fossil fuels after 2035, right? So you escape the price swings of, say, natural gas or coal. That stability, that's the big sell for policymakers. Long-term, clean, predictable energy costs.
Okay, so 32 euros is the target. What's the recipe then? What technologies get them there, the sort of defossilization toolkit?
Well, number one, by a huge margin, is solar PV, photovoltaics. It just dominates. By 2050, PV is projected to be 51%, so over half of all installed capacity.
Half the system on solar panels.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Wind power is second, pretty significant too, at 19% of capacity. And you also need things like concentrated solar power, CSP.
Ah, CSP. Where does that fit in?
Mostly in the really sunny spots, like the deserts. Places with intense direct sunlight. It plays a specific role there.
We hear a lot about natural gas being a bridge fuel. Does this plan rely on digging up more gas?
It uses gas capacity, yes, but strictly as a bridge. It's phased out. So initially, the model does recommend building or using gas plants. But, and this is key for the 100% target, after 2040.
Yes.
Any power from those plants has to use synthetic methane, not fossil methane.
Synthetic methane. So how is that renewable?
Good question. It's made using green hydrogen, which itself is made using renewable electricity through electrolysis. You combine that hydrogen with captured CO2, so the gas plants basically get repurposed.
I see. So they stop burning fossil fuel and start burning a fuel made from the renewable system.
Exactly. It effectively becomes a form of energy storage. Dispatchable power, but clean.
Right. If you've got over half your power from solar PV and nearly a fifth from wind, well, that's a lot of variability. Storage must be a massive part of this plan.
Oh, absolutely essential. Flexibility is everything. The study figures you need total storage capacity equal to about 10% of your total installed power capacity.
10%. And what kind of storage? Batteries.
Lithium-ion batteries lead the way, yeah. They're great for short-term balancing, quick response.
Mm-hmm.
By 2050, they make up about 78% of the charging devices.
Okay, mostly batteries. But what about South America has all those huge dams, right? Massive hydropower already built.
That's the other critical piece. The existing hydro fleet is, you could say, the unsung hero. It's about 10% of the 2050 capacity, but its value for flexibility is immense.
How so?
They maximize pumped hydro energy storage, PHES. using cheap surplus renewables to pump water uphill into reservoirs.
Like a giant water battery.
Exactly. Then release it to generate power when needed. The model says deploy the absolute maximum potential they identified for PHES, around 150 gigawatt hours equivalent.
150 GWH equivalent. What does that mean in practical terms?
It means a huge amount of power you can turn on when you need it. If you look at all the flexibility needed, the existing hydro dams provide about the same amount of flexibility as all the new storage combined. Batteries, new pumped hydro, CSP storage, all put together.
Wow. So the old hydro basically doubles the system's ability to cope with solar and wind.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a massive anchor for the whole renewable system.
That's incredible, leveraging what's already there. But connecting all this, you've got amazing sun in the Atacama, great wind down south, the hydro mostly in Brazil. How do you link it all up? Must need huge power lines.
Definitely. A fully integrated grid is non-negotiable. You need really strong transmission lines to ship power around. Balance out the surpluses like in northeast Brazil, Argentina, Chile, with the areas that need more power, especially southeast and north Brazil, where lots of people live.
So what does the network look like in the model?
It recommends 3 main corridors.
Right.
First, a strong north-south one along the Atlantic coast.
Okay.
Second, a big east-west one, a Brazil-Argentina-Chile axis, basically linking the Atlantic to the Pacific.
Right across the continent?
Yeah. And third, a smaller corridor along the Pacific coast. This dense network means power generated in the best spot can get to where it's needed, miles away. That's key for keeping costs down.
That picture of a continental supergrid. It's pretty powerful.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The second big goal of this study was about the modeling itself, finding the right level of detail, right? The spatial resolution.
Exactly. And this is, well, it's quite relevant if you're doing this kind of work and your computing power isn't infinite.
Which it never is.
Right. So they tested different setups. The most detailed had 43 geographical nodes, then they tried 30, then 16, and finally just one single node representing the whole continent.
Just averaging everything together for the one-node model.
Pretty much. They wanted to know, how simple can we make this map before the results start getting unreliable?
And what did they find? What's the just right level of detail, the sweet spot?
The big finding was that 30 nodes is perfectly adequate for planning South America. When they compared the results from the super detailed 43-node model to the 30-node one, the differences in total cost, the technology mix, the storage needed, it was tiny, less than 1% difference in cost.
Less than 1%. So you save a ton of computing time with 30 nodes without really losing accuracy. Precisely. It's a really useful insight for researchers. You don't necessarily need the absolute maximum detail to get solid policy recommendations.
Okay, 30 nodes is good, but what happens if you go too simple? What's wrong with using that one-node model, just averaging the whole continent?
Well, that's where you run into problems. Big problems. The study calls the errors meaningful. If you model with just one node, or even 16, you end up underestimating the total system cost by up to 10%.
10% lower cost. Why would simplifying make it look cheaper? That seems backwards.
It's because the simple MODI can't see the best spots for specific resources. It averages out, say, the amazing sun in the Atacama Desert with cloudy areas elsewhere.
Ah, I see.
So the one-node model, for example, it barely recommends building any concentrated solar power, CSP, because the average solar condition across the continent isn't good enough for CSP to make sense.
But the high-resolution model?
The high-res model sees the Atacama and says, aha, perfect spot for CSP. It recommends 133 GW of it in the 43-node scenario. The simple model misses that opportunity entirely, forcing the system to use other, maybe less efficient or more expensive options. You need that geographic detail to find the hotspots.
That makes perfect sense. It really shows why getting the map detail right matters. Okay, let's move to the third part, which sounds really exciting. South America exporting green hydrogen. They modeled scenarios where the continent produces extra hydrogen, right, on top of its own electricity needs.
Yeah, they looked at producing an extra 10% or even 20% worth of energy as green hydrogen, specifically for export.
And what happens to the system cost then? Adding a huge new energy demand, like hydrogen factories. That must make everything more expensive, surely.
Well, yes and no. This is where it gets really counterintuitive and quite fascinating. The total system cost does go up, as you'd expect. You need to build way more solar panels and wind turbines, up to 13% higher total cost for the 20% hydrogen export scenario.
Okay, that makes sense. More stuff costs more money.
But, and this is the kicker, the average electricity cost for people actually living in South America goes down.
Wait, what? How? You add this massive hydrogen export industry, build loads more generation, and domestic electricity gets cheaper. That doesn't feel right.
It seems weird, I know. But it's all about flexibility. Think about those electrolyzers, the machines that make hydrogen from water using electricity.
Okay.
They need a lot of power, but they can also be turned on and off relatively easily. So they act as a huge flexible load on the grid,
A flexible load, meaning?
meaning they can soak up electricity when it's super abundant and cheap, like midday when the sun is blazing, or windy nights, power that might otherwise be wasted or require expensive batteries to store.
Ah. So the hydrogen production plants basically act like a giant sponge for cheap surplus power.
Exactly, an economically productive sponge. By consuming that excess renewable energy, they reduce the need for the grid operator to build as much dedicated expensive storage like batteries just to handle those peaks of generation.
I see. So the hydrogen isn't just an export product, it's helping balance the domestic grid too.
Precisely. It provides a valuable service to the grid by being a controllable load. This system-wide benefit actually lowers the overall cost of running the domestic electricity system per megawatt hour delivered.
That's a really neat finding. Hydrogen as a grid stabilizer, not just an export commodity. So where does the study see this hydrogen being produced?
Well, given the need for cheap bulk electricity, it mostly comes from solar PV, with wind helping too. The main production hubs pop up in the places with the best resources,
Which are?
primarily Chile, especially the Atacama, then Argentina and also northeast Brazil. Those regions become the powerhouses for hydrogen export. Chile, in particular, looks like the most cost-effective producer, thanks to that incredible desert sun. The study sees it becoming the main exporter after 2035.
Okay, this has been incredibly insightful. So let's try and recap the big takeaways. First, South America transitioning to 100% renewables isn't just a dream, it's modeled as the most cost-effective way forward, potentially hitting that stable 32 MWh price point.
Right, a really powerful economic case.
And second, this surprising twist. Exporting green hydrogen, while requiring more investment overall, could actually lower domestic electricity bills because the hydrogen production process itself adds valuable flexibility to the grid.
Yeah, that flexibility aspect is key. It turns a potential challenge, variable renewables, into an economic opportunity.
It paints a picture of a continent not just cleaning up its own energy, but potentially becoming a major clean energy exporter.
It really does. This study lays out the technical and economic roadmap. It gives policymakers the data they need to think big.
But, models are one thing, reality is another. Politics, international cooperation. These massive projects face hurdles beyond the technical. What does the study suggest is the next step? Where does the research need to go now?
They definitely acknowledge that. Models like this are the foundation, not the whole building. They suggest future work needs to create a truly integrated energy plan,
Meaning?
extending the modeling beyond just electricity, bringing in transport, heating, cooling demands, the whole energy picture.
Right, because the economy runs on more than just electricity.
Exactly. But maybe the most provocative final thought they leave us with is about tackling the non-technical risks head on.
Like what?
Things like political risk, regulatory uncertainty between countries, the potential for huge cost overruns on massive infrastructure projects, real-world complexities. Future work needs to figure out strategies that are robust, that still work even when things don't go exactly according to plan, developing adaptive pathways for these deeply uncertain futures.
That sounds like the crucial next challenge, moving from the blueprint to building it resiliently.
Absolutely. That's the next frontier in realizing the potential that's mapped out so clearly in this study. Exporting sunshine, planning South America's electricity transition with green hydrogen.